Yo, what's going on, my people? It's your boy Chris and we back. Got a real short video for you guys today. Don't want to waste your time. This week, the focus was perspective. I wanted to understand it a little bit better, and I want to share with you guys some things that I learned to make my perspective drawings turn out a little bit better. Now, obviously, before we even start, I want to just preface everything by saying that, listen, you're not going to learn it all in one day. So don't be hard on yourself if these tips don't click instantly. But as long as you fundamentally understand what I'm saying, then this will help you, or at least this is a good tool to fall back on to remember the fundamental concepts of like how to make things really pop in perspective. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the first tip. Always start with guidelines. And I don't think this needs to be a super duper detailed guideline, and if you really need like a guide on how to start with guidelines, because that does require just the bare minimum knowledge on perspective, I recommend to watch these videos right here that go over how to do the guidelines and how to even draw simple shapes in perspective. It's easier to plot objects in perspective when you have those guidelines, especially when you're talking about something organic like the human body. You don't want to freehand that, especially if you have no experience doing it. I think a lot of people, they get stuck on the guidelines part. If you really do not like to worry about guidelines, there are tools in Clip Studio Paint, there are tools online that can just generate the guidelines for you, and then you could just draw inside of those. But every now and again, I think it is good to try and establish your own guidelines so you can have that range of flexibility in your artwork. But that's like the first tip, guidelines. And that kind of leads into, you know, the next tip, which kind of piggybacks off of that, which is the depth of an object. So how far away versus how close it is to the camera, right? So obviously that's something that you hear all the time, but you need to actually understand that, you know, like for me, I feel like I would always know how to place objects in perspective okay, but then it would look off because the size of an object may be the same, whereas it should be closer or further away. Check this out, right? Let's say you have someone who's pointing at the camera, right? Straight forward. The hand needs to be a little bit bigger than what it would normally be because it's closer to the camera than everything else is, right? It's the closest thing to the camera, so it needs to be the biggest, right? If you want to increase that size, that'll increase how dynamic the perspective of it is. So it's one of those things where it really does play a big role in how your drawing is perceived in perspective, right? I was doing this, I started doing this week, and it really improved a lot of my perspective drawings off rip. Like, I think that was one of my biggest problems with sizing. And again, you combine that with the guidelines, and it's way easier to plot down what you're actually drawing and where things should go. Freehanding it is almost always going to be insanely harder unless you are a veteran at doing it. I recommend, especially if you're a beginner, start with your guidelines. It is boring, I know. Get a free guideline, PNG or JPEG online, or let Clip Studio do the guidelines for you if you really don't want to do that part. But those are super important, and I promise you it helps out a lot. And these kind of go into my last point, which is overlap. Overlapping objects is very important. I know it's super hard to visualize certain objects being behind others. For instance, if we go back to the hand pointing at the camera example, the forearm is going to be blocked by the hand, especially if it's like a straight on camera. You're barely going to see the forearm, if at all, right? Depending on how close the camera is to that hand. So with that being said, it's kind of paramount to understand the forms that you're drawing, which is why anatomy and like honestly just understanding where shapes are placed in space is super important, right? And yeah, like again, it just comes down to like if you overlap things, that's where you're really selling the perspective, because you're implying that there's something else there. And you know, again, that's another part that I stumbled on. I would always want to like show like the body part that's supposed to be overlapped from, like, say, like, again, let's go back to the hand example, because that's just super easy to visualize. Hand pointed at the screen. I would always want to show the forearm, even if I don't need to. Or if I would, like it's one of those things where, like, sometimes the body part that you're trying to show off in perspective, or the shape you're trying to show off in perspective, is going to be completely blocked off by the closer object. And understanding how to represent those is super paramount. So like, again, when it comes to anatomy, that's where learning your proportions kind of comes in, because you get a range for how big something is supposed to be. And if you're able to plot it out, you can even use the guidelines to help measure where certain things are. That's really how you get better at that stuff. And again, like this is all just very quick tips. I know there are like super duper nitty gritty details that I plan on getting into in a later video, but for now, this is just a quick start guide on kind of how to approach perspective if you've just been banging your head at the wall. Again, I want to reiterate, you are not going to just figure it out all overnight, one day. Do not expect that of yourself. That is a hard goal to hit, and you will end up getting demotivated if you don't hit that goal. So don't set that goal for yourself. Try to just do a little bit here and there to get familiar and comfortable with drawing in perspective. and you will get better. I promise you, you will get better. This BoJack Horseman quote, I forget the characters' names because I mean, again, that show, I watched it way back, but dude, it gets easier every day, but you got to do it every day, kind of a thing, right? Now, not literally every day, but like, you know what I'm saying? You got to do it often, consistent, right? But anyways, that's kind of all I wanted to talk about today. Just wanted to get on here and really quick share with you guys my progress. Also did some regular studies too. But yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead and hop off. Bing Bong's Prison Palace is out on itch.io. If you want to give my game a shot, leave it a rating. Leave me a nice little comment if you feel inclined to do so. I'd appreciate it. But I'll be back real soon with another video. But I'm gonna go ahead and hop off now. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, night, or whatever. And it's been your boy Chris, and I'm out. Peace.